and Orlando. So then we move over. I quickly just tell you the house rules. So the session will be in English. If you have any questions, you are free to submit them via the chat. We believe some of your questions might be already answered during the session, so let's not interrupt Dries. And we will come back to it in the Q&A. We will end with the Q&A. Please also note that this webinar is recorded, and afterwards you will receive the slides as well as the recording. So I will kindly also ask you to mute yourself, or we will do that for you during the session. If you would have any questions afterwards, we're available for any questions. You can reach us by emailing to info@sapience.be. So we will start the recording and we will kick off the session. So first of all, for those who don't know me yet, my name is Charlotte Bogaerts. I've been working 10 years in SAP. In my daily job, I am a business development within the sales team of Expertum, one of the partners in the ecosystem of SAP in Belgium. And of course, I am also a volunteer at Sapience. I am a focus group lead, and I'm also part of the board. And it's actually it's an honor to be here today and to host this session, since I was also at Sapphire and I had the pleasure to meet Dries in Madrid. And I let Dries introduce himself. So Dries, thank you for your time and a warm welcome from Sapience side.
Yes, good morning, everyone, and also a warm welcome from my side. My name is Dries van der Wouwer. I'm an architect advisor at SAP for the Benelux region. I just joined SAP in February this year, and before that I worked as a consultant at an implementation partner for over 5 years. And as Charlotte said, today we're going to cover the highlights and the announcements from Sapphire. For those of you who don't know, Sapphire is SAP's flagship annual event, where they each year announce the upcoming strategy and innovations that will be released in the next year. And this year was especially exciting. I think it's really a major turning point in enterprise technology. So over the next 45 minutes or so, we'll summarize the key announcements, but we will also try to make them tangible and share what we believe is most relevant for organizations in Belgium. And we'll go through each announcement in turn with demos, with examples and roadmap details and so on where relevant. Because the goal of this session is not just to inform you about what was said at Sapphire, but to help you understand what these announcements might mean for your organization and where you might want to start taking some action.
Perfect. Thank you, Dries.
Yeah, so before we get into the action, Charlotte mentioned that we were both actually at Sapphire, at the Madrid edition. And there we took some pictures to give you an idea of the atmosphere of the event. Because this year especially, it was very exciting. And from the moments you walk into the halls of the venue, at the IFEMA venue in Madrid, there were thousands of attendees, customers, partners, also SAP employees, of course. And they were all there for the same reason, which is trying to understand where SAP is headed in this age of AI.
Indeed.
And I think, yeah.
Go ahead,
Go ahead. Yeah, I think the picture at the bottom there, the beginning of Better, it's a picture from the opening keynote, and that really set the tone. It was actually the theme of the entire event, and I really liked that phrase.
Yeah, indeed. But maybe it's interesting, Dries, if you can tell the audience a bit more about the tagline, because it's a wonderful tagline, the beginning of Better, but where does it actually comes from?
Well, I'll just play you a video which explains it actually really well, what the beginning of Better is all about.
Correct.
Since the dawn of time, history has been defined by a series of world-changing innovations. These groundbreaking moments were not always met with the appropriate levels of enthusiasm.
Well, that's the end of the raw food industry.
Mm-hmm. It's called a sale.
I don't know. We've always been more of a rowing-centric organization. We have.
I call it inoculation.
Clever, but we have a lot invested in leeches right now. There you go.
Leeches?
Well, that's the end of Shakespeare.
That's the end of their careers.
No doubt. No more mainframes.
Well, that's the end of big data.
What is this called?
The internet.
I do not like it.
They're calling it software as a service.
They think people are going to rent software?
SAP HANA.
It's the end of legacy enterprise tech stacks with siloed ERP and analytics.
I don't even want to imagine a world without legacy enterprise tech stacks with siloed ERP and analytics.
So we're an autonomous enterprise now. You know what that means?
It's the end.
Yeah. The end of busy work, bottlenecks, and silos, and the beginning of faster, simpler, better.
Welcome to the autonomous enterprise. It's not the end of anything. It's the beginning of better.
Yeah, so I really like that video. I think it's a fun video, but it also illustrates really well the beginning of better, representing SAP's shift to what we are now calling the autonomous enterprise era. Now, most organizations have already been investing in AI for the past 2 to 3 years, let's say. And they've invested in co-pilots, in chatbots, in dashboards or automations. But for many of these businesses, the results are still not where they expect them to be. So why is that? And how will SAP deliver the beginning of better? To answer those questions, let's start with 3 things that generic AI tools simply don't have. So first, they lack business and process context. A general purpose AI doesn't understand that, for example, a 3-way match failure in procurement has specific downstream consequences in finance. The second is data, because generic models can read your data, sure, but they don't understand how your business actually runs. They don't know that a purchase order kicks off a chain of receipts, approvals, compliance checks. And the third is governance. Because AI that cannot be audited or controlled or trusted doesn't get deployed in the core of the enterprise, especially not in production. It just gets demonstrated, and there's a big difference. The good news for SAP customers is that everything that AI needs to actually deliver value, that SAP already has, right? We have this deep process in industry knowledge built over many decades. We have semantically rich business data that spans the entire enterprise across SAP, but also non-SAP systems. And we have an enterprise-grade governance framework. So SAP is actually uniquely positioned, not because they rush to build some AI layer on top of the existing software, but because their process coverage, their data model, and their governance infrastructure was already there. And this translates perfectly into the autonomous enterprise, right? This shift where people set the direction, but AI executes. And it's not about replacing the people. It's about changing what people spend their time on. So instead of executing their daily routine processes or approving their daily routine transactions and so on, people instead focus on strategy or on judgment, decisions that require some human insight or critical thinking, right? And AI does the execution part. And that shift across all the 5 autonomous domains that we call them, finance, HR, supply chain, and so on, they really move the enterprise from, just responding to events in a reactive capacity to a proactive, autonomous ecosystem. And that's what SAP calls the autonomous enterprise. So there are 5 key elements that basically the autonomous enterprise is built on. First, there is the Joule. That's the front door to your people. It's the engagement layer. It's where your people go to ask questions, kick off work, see what's happening, instead of bouncing around the different systems and the different applications and systems and so on. Secondly, there's the autonomous suite, which is basically the operational core of the autonomous enterprise. It's where your day-to-day is run, your finance spend, supply chain, and so on. Third, there is the deep industry intelligence, which we're calling industry AI. It's where we bake in very industry-specific regulations and edge cases and so on. And it basically complements the autonomous domains in the autonomous suite. All of those things are shared by one AI foundation, the SAP Business AI platform, which is like the brain and the safety system of your entire operation, with the process context, unified data, and governance in all in one place. So your agents can act across the entire business, but you can still audit every step. And the way you get there from where you are today, that model is called the agent-led transformation. And that's how we move to this architecture without asking you to stop your business, to transform your business. All right.
I think we can consider this slide as the agenda of today's session.
Yeah, for sure.
We only have an hour, so which are the key elements that you will focus on today?
Yeah, right. I think that's a good question. For today, the main focus will be Joule, because I think that's really the visual part, and that's where a lot of the exciting announcements and innovations were made. But also, I would really like to focus on the agent-led transformation, because no matter how many nice innovations we will show you, you still need to actually start being able to use them and to gain value from them. So I think the agent-led transformation, especially for the customers who are still planning on or are in the process of doing a transformation, will be really important.
Let's kick off.
Yeah, let's start with the first one, with Joule. It's the most visible face, I think, of SAP's AI strategy. It's already been part of SAP's portfolio for a while now. But at Sapphire, SAP really announced a significant evolution in Joule. It's no longer just a chat assistant, but it's really a comprehensive work experience now. And here you can see our Chief AI Officer, actually, introducing Joule Work. Joule Work is built around a simple but very powerful idea. What if your AI co-pilot wasn't just something you ask questions to, but what if it's deeply embedded in how you work every day?
So it's like the new version of Joule. Maybe interesting, before we dive into the details, when will this be available?
Yeah. So it was announced that you can already start signing up for the early adopter care of Joule Work, with a planned general availability for the end of this year. But that is for the scope that was announced at Sapphire, and it's currently only the Cloud ERP Public Edition and Success Factors. So we do plan to include, obviously, other SAP systems, for sure the private cloud edition of S4HANA. I imagine that will be somewhere in the next year.
Okay. But curious, tell us more about Joule Work.
Yeah, let's try to understand how Joule Work, but Joule in general works, because there's a few distinct layers here. And Joule Work is the engagement layer at the top. That's how you interact with the system. That's the front door for users. But from Joule Work, the intent that you give to the system is translated into some goals, some outcomes. And then the role-aware, context-aware Joule assistants help you achieve those goals and those outcomes. They do that by coordinating multiple Joule agents, which do the execution part. They execute multi-step workflows, some tasks. They surface insights for you across different systems end-to-end. Underpinning it all, it's grounded in your apps and your data, so SAP and also non-SAP, which is an important point, because Joule is not locked to your SAP ecosystem. It connects to the systems and the data that your business is already running on. And so everything flows from top to bottom, from the user experience through the intelligence layers, and all the way to your existing landscape. So now let's dive deeper into Joule Work itself. There's three important pillars of Joule Work. The first is the conversations. This is a familiar AI chat experience that you might already know. It lets you ask a question in plain language, just like any familiar AI chatbot. Second pillar is spaces. These are AI-generated workspaces that dynamically adapt content based on who you are, based on what you're working on and what you need at the moment. To understand how conversations and spaces work together, make it a bit less abstract. I'll show you a video just in a moment. But the third pillar is develop. And this is where developers and low-code builders can create custom applications, agents, workflows that extend Joule into your own specific business scenarios. So first, conversations. They provide, like I said, a familiar AI chat experience, quite similar to the generic LLM providers that I imagine most of us are using these days, where people get quick insights, perform simple tasks. But, and this is an important caveat, but with the context of the data originating from SAP and also non-SAP system, right? And within a governed environment. So if you need to, for example, cross-reference data from your CRM alongside your ERP, Joule helps you with that in one single interaction. You don't have to switch between different systems or copy-paste from one screen to another screen. So for end users, it's a significant change in how they interact with their business systems. Now, the second dimension, spaces, I think is particularly exciting because it's like it's got this dynamically AI-generated UI, right? So when tasks become a bit more complex, more time-consuming, the spaces come in the pictures. And instead of navigating through different menus and transactions, you describe what you're trying to accomplish, and Joule will assemble a workspace with the relevant data and tools already loaded in. So let's see this in action in a video. So the user starts in the conversation dimension by stating their intent, and they ask for a list of return orders from Bike Pros. So that's fine. You can still do this part in the chat window in conversations. But now, as soon as the user wants to start working on one of these return orders, it gets a bit more complex. And the user needs more detailed information, needs more context to start making some decisions or start taking actions. So Joule already suggests to create a space to work on this scenario. In this space, you see the dynamically AI-generated UI we're talking about, where Joule has assembled the most important information for working on this return order, and some key insights and analysis for this customer. How often do they send returns and so on? You see the different return order items, and that consists of this return order and maybe some additional information like some return policies and so on. Now, at this point, it is still possible to add new UI content to this space, like a credit memo, for example. And that's what the user just did. They added this credit memo request. And yeah, now that they have everything they need, they first want to gain some more information about the insights, because for each of these UI elements, there's also the full context loaded in, so you can ask some questions about some more deeper questions. But now once they finally have all their insights, all the information that they need, they can start taking some action. They start confirming all the different items of the return order. And once they've confirmed all the items, whether that's replacements or credit memos, the recommended action is to release the return order so they can actually proceed. One important thing here to mention as well is that these spaces, they can be created for one-time use, but also they can be reused in similar scenarios in the future. So if you think this is a good space to keep working on return orders in the future, you can reuse it in the future. And you can also share it with colleagues, so you can collaborate together on certain topics. All right, so the last pillar of Joule work is develop. The develop capability is centered around Joule Studio. So SAP's development environment for building AI-powered applications, agents, and workflows, and so on. And this Joule Studio, or let's call it Joule Studio 2.0, because there was already a Joule Studio within SAP Build, is basically the next generation of SAP Build. We create everything, agents, workflows, and applications on in one environment, but also embedded in Joule work now. One of the core design choices behind Joule Studio is that it doesn't force developers into a single way of working, right? It instead combines strong native experiences with an open ecosystem of tools. So agentic workflows and orchestrations, they are delivered natively through N8N. Front-end innovation with Vercel, making it easy to build modern web applications that extend SAP solutions. By the way, Fiori UI5 still relevant for scenarios where you require standardization, the consistency that Fiori brings. But now Joule Studio also meets developers where they already are, with the broader versatile community. Of course, Pro Code teams can still continue working locally in VS Code like before, and they can also bring the tools that they prefer. So whether that's Cloud Code, Cursor, Klein, Codex, or others. So Joule Studio really offers both, right? It's native embedded experiences for consistency, but also an open ecosystem for flexibility. So developers can work whatever way they want while still working in this SAP managed runtime with the enterprise context and with the governance.
All right.
If you're a developer or if you have a development team, I'd encourage you to sign up for the early access to Joule Studio 2.0, so you can start building and experimenting now before the broader rollout.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. So to summarize Joule work, it's really an evolution from just an AI chatbot to an AI-powered work experience, right? That helps you in your daily work. Now, as I said at the beginning, Joule work interacts with Joule assistants and Joule agents. But let's try to more deeply understand how these assistants and agents actually work. So Joule assistants and Joule agents, they turn intent into action, executing complex workflows across your entire business. This image shows how the assistants and the agents work together in a sourcing example. The sourcing manager, who is a human, begins by expressing the job to be done in Joule work. And they state their intent in, for example, the conversations part. The sourcing assistant, they infer from the sourcing manager's intent and using the role and the business context what's supposed to happen. Based on that intent, they start to coordinate the appropriate Joule agents to support the workflow. And then behind the scenes, these agents will handle the execution parts. They will automate multiple step processes. They will surface insights, tapping into their skills, tapping into your apps and your data and so on. Now, this slide illustrates a key point about assistants and agents, and it's really fundamental to how they were designed, in my opinion. Because the assistants and the agents are not confined to a single function, okay? They can work end-to-end across the entire business through multiple business domains, connecting processes, data, and decisions that once required some handoffs between either the systems or the different teams. On this image, you see an example of a lead-to-cash process. And this process spans multiple business functions. It starts in customer engagement with selling, ordering, delivering. But then it flows into finance for billing and receivables. And finally, it also carries through to spend for cash collection and treasury. And you can see in this picture that the human in the loop triggers are built in at the right moments. And the human is not removed from the picture. It's just that they're freed up from the daily routine tasks with the execution between the critical decision points. One more Joule announcement that's worth highlighting, I think, is the Joule action bar, which is planned for general availability in the second part of the year. It's powered by WalkMe. It's a persistent overlay that lives on top of every application that you're working in the browser, including SAP, but also non-SAP sources. It follows you across web apps and browsers, giving you access to Joule capabilities directly in the application that you're working in. You get out-of-the-box functionality for writing tools, for reading tools, access to Joule content, and memory that carries over across different applications and workflows. Now let me show you a quick video to better illustrate what it can do. As you can see, we're currently not in an SAP application in the video, we're in the Outlook web app. But still, Joule can provide you context about this person sending the mail, about the posting exception for an invoice. And based on the contents of the screen, I pressed the wrong button there. But based on the content of the screen and the context that Joule has, it suggests to create a ticket with the general ledger team about this invoice. The user confirms that this suggestion is fine, and this starts an automation which automatically navigates to ServiceNow and starts filling in the form to create a ticket. This is all an automation. The user is not filling in these fields themselves. But interesting, at this point, it was very fast. At this point, the automation stops at the submit button because it recognizes as a critical point where a human should be kept in the loop and where the human should create or should execute some decision. The last pillar of the Joule section of today's presentation, but last but not least, is the AI governance. Because enterprises want to scale AI, but what we hear from customers all the time is that a lot of the available AI solutions are not built for enterprises, they're built for consumers. And they train on your data, they move it across borders, they maybe commingle it with other people's data, and that's a compliance and a legal nightmare. And this is where Joule fills that gap. It inherits the robust governance from the business AI platform, providing customers complete control over the AI-powered business processes. For example, full data ownership means that your data never leaves your controlled environment, and your data is never shared with third parties or used to train other models. Complete data isolation at the tenant level means that your data never mixes with other customers' data. The technical sovereignty means that you can flexibly configure Joule to your organization's requirement. And the regulatory compliance means that you never have to worry about whether you are following any local data protection laws. Yeah, I know that was a lot of to cover there with Joule, but that was really I think the key to the shift to this autonomous enterprise. But next up is the autonomous suite. The autonomous suite is really the operational core of the business and the brain of your enterprise. It spans across 5 autonomous domains. So workflows and agents can run across different functions without fragmenting into separate tools, separate data. Within each of these domains, the cycle is continuous. Agents act, generating trustworthy data. This data enriches your apps, making your apps more intelligent. And the more intelligent your apps are, the better they are able to enable your agents. So the value compounds in this chain. Zooming in even more in this autonomous spend domain, we get the procure-to-pay process as an example. In this process, you see that from start to finish, the assistants and the agents cover every step of the process, starting from sourcing to contract compliance to invoicing all the way to expenses. And each one is purpose-built for a specific task and designed to work together in a coherent process. Also, each one of these assistants is linked to measurable business outcomes that quantify the business impact that they have.
So this is now an example of the within the spend domain. I assume there's much more to discover.
Exactly. So here I'm showing you 2 QR codes which you can scan right now. One for the products page of Joule Assistants and Agents, and one for the Discovery Center. On the product page, you can browse all the different available Joule Assistants and Agents by domain, by process area, by the different products, SuccessFactors, S4HANA, and so on. You can get detailed information on what each of these assistant and agent does. On the Discovery Center, you can find the roadmap for each of these agents. You can find links to the help portal that give you information on how to activate it and so on. And give you detailed information on what the functionalities are behind these different agents. So I'd recommend bookmarking this at least the Discovery Center as a reference for when you're starting your AI activation.
Because there's also much more to come. If I remember it well, within the 50 AI assistants, and I think 225
exactly. Yeah.
Agents already, but counting and multiplying.
But
every
yeah, the
day,
number
so
will only keep growing. Yeah, of course.
Perfect. Thank you, Dries.
Next point, the industry AI, which basically complements what we just saw with these autonomous domains. Beyond the 5 horizontal business domains that we have in the autonomous suite, SAP has defined several autonomous industry domains, each one purpose-built for specific sectors. For example, if you take autonomous asset management, you can see that it's targeted at the oil, gas, and energy industries, utilities, travel and transportation. And if we zoom in even a bit more into autonomous asset management, for a concrete example, in the oil, gas, and energy sector, we can see how the different assistants cover an entire process specifically for oil, gas, and energy in autonomous asset management, and also they go across different domains. So they go across different roles, they go across different systems. They really cover a specific industry process from start to finish. These industry AI use cases are highly specific, and SAP co-innovates these cases together with specific customers in those industries to combine our deep process and industry knowledge combined with specific needs from these customers.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Now the fourth element, the SAP Business AI platform. That's basically the technical foundation that makes all of what I just explained up to this point possible. It's what allows Joule to be grounded in your business data. It's what allows the agents to reason across multiple systems. It's what ensures governance and then the data isolation that we mentioned. So let's unpack the key components of the SAP Business AI platform. The central pillar is the contextualize and reason pillar. So where you really power your AI with context and with reasoning. You do this by unifying your data, SAP, non-SAP, using SAP Business Data Cloud. It's open by design. And so with SAP Business Data Cloud, you can connect your data with whatever data platform that you prefer to use, such as Microsoft, Google, Snowflake, and so on. And also on the AI model side, there are some key partnerships
There are some new names on it, isn't it?
Yeah, so recently there were some new announcements. I think in the opening keynote we had the CEO of Mistral AI also announcing deeper partnerships with Mistral AI. You see Prior Labs, for example, which was a recent acquisition. Even for the ones who have been following the SAP news for a little bit, there's even 2 logos missing on this slide with the new acquisitions of Reltio and Dremio. So both of those strengthening our BDC offering. With Reltio being a master data management company, which will further strengthen the data fabric of BDC. And then Dremio being a high-performance data lakehouse, which will really expand BDC's ability to run analytical AI workloads in real time. And also at Sapphire, Anthropic and SAP announced plans to expand their partnership. They will deliver advanced AI solutions together, co-develop new custom agents and new agentic workflows and so on. Lastly, sitting at the top here is the SAP Knowledge Graph. And this is perhaps one of the most underappreciated but critically important elements of SAP's AI strategy. So let's zoom in on the knowledge graph and try to understand it properly. So here is the challenge itself. So let's say that you have data in your S4 system, but also in Ariba, where the concept of a supplier exists in both of them, but they're represented differently. Let's say that in S4, your supplier contains payment terms, bank accounts, and so on. But in Ariba, they contain contracts, sourcing events, qualification status, and whatnot. Now, the knowledge graph creates a unified domain model that really understands that these suppliers are the same entity, and they map the relationship between them. This means that an AI agent can reason across both of these systems with full semantic understanding. And of course, a supplier doesn't just exist by themselves in the system. They have relationships to invoices, to purchase orders, to payment histories. And understanding these relationships and the meaning behind these relationships, that really enables the agents and the assistants to reliably reason and decide and execute across complex workflows without hallucinations. To illustrate the size of SAP's metadata model, just the S4HANA knowledge graph is based on more than 400,000 ABAP tables, 80,000 CDS views, and over 7 million data fields. So this is really a critical part of the accuracy of the Joule agents. The pillar on the left there is the build pillar of the SAP Business AI platform, where we see Joule Studio, which we already covered in the develop section of Joule work. It's the open environment where you can build your custom AI agents, applications, and workflows, and so on, to extend your ERP in a clean core way. Additionally, there's SAP Integration Suite, which you use to now unify your agents, also still your apps and your processes across SAP and non-SAP landscapes to really build a strong AI foundation. In Integration Suite, we now have these new protocols like MCP. We have now event-driven agentic workflows, which really help you accelerate your agent connectivity with thousands of pre-built integrations and connectors. So to summarize this build pillar, it's really the autonomous enterprise is built on an open but also extensible platform. And then the third pillar is governance, because to manage that AI at scale, you need some controls for security, for compliance, for the lifecycle management of these agents. First the SAP AI Agent Hub. That's a vendor-agnostic command center. It gives you full visibility and control over every one of your AI agents, your LLMs, your MCP servers, and so on. Previously, this was only accessible for LeanIX customers, but now it's also directly available in Joule Studio. The value realization part, that happens through LeanIX and Signavio, which really identifies where your agents deliver value and also ensure that they align with your business strategy. The Joule Studio runtime is an enterprise-grade runtime environment where you can deploy your custom AI agents with some reduced IT complexity and clear SLAs. And of course, the identity, access, and security is inherited because it was already built on SAP BTP. Because for those of you who have been paying attention, you might realize that the SAP Business AI platform basically combines SAP BTP, SAP BDC, Business Data Cloud, and certain parts of business transformation management with LeanIX and with Signavio and so on. But it's important to understand that it's not replacing anything. It's just really bringing those parts of the different applications in your AI and your data closer together and simplifying the offering. Now, lastly, the agent-led transformation, because I think that's actually a compelling point for customers in Belgium, which are still planning either a transformation or maybe already started the transformation, but it's still ongoing, which is the agent-led transformation. Because the reality of many organizations today, what we see, is that while the rate of innovation is accelerating, because SAP releases now new capabilities quarterly in the cloud, and AI is evolving rapidly, but organizations are, because of these new innovations, carrying increasing transformation debt. They still have customizations from years ago, technical debt in their current ERP and so on. And this complexity makes migrations feel risky and expensive and complex. And as a result, the value really lags significantly behind the innovations that are being made. And this gap between what's possible and what's the current state is what SAP calls transformation debt, as compounds over time. So the agent-led transformation is SAP's answer to closing that gap faster. How does it look like? Well, the SAP's Rise with SAP program has always been about providing a structured and a supported path from on-premises to the cloud. But at Sapphire, SAP significantly strengthened that proposition by adding the agent-led transformation to it. So the key insight is that the transformation itself is also now AI assisted. So you're not just using AI after you finished migrating, the AI is helping you migrate faster and more successfully. The agent-led toolchain, previously called the integrated toolchain, brings together several products and capabilities in a coordinated way. At the methodology level, you still have the RISE methodology, but supporting that methodology, you have the different products from the integrated toolchain, like LeanIX for enterprise architecture, Signavio for your business processes, and so on. And also Joule for consultants and Joule for developers, which really help you accelerate the configurations and the technical implementation. If we zoom in a little bit on Joule for consultants, because I think this is a product that's gotten some really important announcements at Sapphire and some really key innovations. This month, or last month during Sapphire, we saw that it entered the personalized knowledge phase. And also by December of this year, it will enter the landscape and agents phase. So now we already have this personalized Joule for consultants where you can create experts in the expert workspace, where you can upload some files, maybe some best practices of your organization, maybe some requirements from a customer or whatnot. And then later in the landscape and agents phase, by the end of the year, Joule for consultants will also be landscape aware. So it will know that you have an ECC system. It will know that you have a private cloud system or a public cloud system. It will know the version of your system and so on. So this really gives you more accurate and more useful answers. So yeah, if you're a partner or you're a consultant, if you're somehow involved in SAP transformations, I think this is a tool that will fundamentally change how you work. To illustrate one of these examples, which I find really exciting, I'll show you a video of the expert workspaces that are actually already available now in Joule for consultants. So in a moment here, we'll jump into the expert workspace console, where we see that there are a few existing experts already, but we'll create a new expert for this scenario. It's a new expert that will help with a SAP BRIM implementation. And we instruct this expert to behave as a solution architect. He really tries to analyze the customer's current state, pain points, and then maps every requirement from the customer to specific BRIM components. Critically, you see these guardrails at the bottom. As the landscape discovery is currently still on the roadmap, here in the guardrails, we'll mention that it also should be specific to the Private Cloud Edition 2025. We want no hallucinations, we want best practices first, we want clean core, and this is really where the quality and the reliability of the output is baked in. Back in the conversations, we select this expert that we just created to upload some files, some meeting transcript, some process flows. We just give one simple prompt to review those files and give some good output content based on the entire instructions from the expert, and we see the entire process being analyzed according to the specific requirements from the customer. Full business process analysis, basically. Also here at the end, SAP Joule cites its sources, so you also can see where it got those insights, those information. So it's also traceable. Now the full agent-led transformation covers actually two key work streams. So we have this business transformation with spanning from the initial business case to ongoing optimizations. But we also now have the migration and modernization. And this is specifically aimed at the organizations that are moving from ECC or S4 on-prem to Cloud ERP, to really accelerate these migrations, to reduce the risk, reduce the cost, and really start addressing the transformation that we saw earlier. So what does that acceleration actually mean in practice? Well, Across the transformation journey, SAP has built 7 AI assistants that cover every part of the migrations that we see today. For example, the configuration assistant that you see there, it accelerates the configuration of your target system by analyzing your source system. The custom code assistant that helps you with the conversion and then the clean core adoption, because it really tries to understand the custom code that you have today, but on a functional level. And so it doesn't just recognize every program or class as a isolated object, but it really tries to understand what it's trying to accomplish. For example, are these specific objects combining into a pricing extension or something like that? So these assistants touch every phase of a transformation program, meaning faster project delivery, but also lower risk and significantly reduced manual effort in the parts of the project that have historically consumed the most time. For the roadmap for these AI assistants, they will be incrementally delivered, but most of these features are expected to be available by the end of the year.
Okay.
Of course, you can also find these roadmaps of the different products in the agentlet toolchain on the product roadmaps. SAP has also announced enhanced AI activation services to kickstart your agentic AI adoption. And for all RISE customers, SAP experts will work together with you to activate 3 Joule AI assistants. For customers with the Max Success plan, the offer goes even further, and SAP will support the adoption of an unlimited amount of custom AI assistants. And these services are available now.
And what about ECC customers, Dries? Because we also received a question in the chat from Herman Prinsloo. He mentioned Christian Klein announced in his keynote that clients that are still transitioning from ECC or S4HANA Private to S4HANA Cloud can also start immediately benefiting from Joule while they are transitioning. Joule will be made available to ECC and S4HANA Private Cloud. What does this entail? I think maybe you can answer this question already. It's valuable for everyone, I think.
I actually expected that this question would come, so I anticipated on this. Indeed, we announced this hybrid AI activation, meaning that customers who are still on ECC or S4 on-premise, but have committed to their migration to RISE can already start using a selected amount of these AI assistants on their on-premise systems. Now, do keep in mind that this still means that Cloud ERP Private continues to be the main way to access full AI capabilities and innovations. But we will already make available the AI assistants that are possible, because some of the AI assistants obviously use some processes, some key functionalities that are just not existing in these legacy systems. So it's not possible to give access to every single AI Joule assistant and agent, but some will, but only for the customers, and this is important for customers who are committed to moving to the clouds.
I also believe they mentioned at a certain point, at least Christian Klein mentioned it, they're not talking about RISE with SAP or grow with SAP anymore. They're talking about RISE with AI and grow with AI. So that's why I believe SAP got all those initiatives to get everyone on the AI train.
Yeah, exactly. If you have any questions about the exact terms and conditions and so on, I'd suggest you just speak with your SAP account team to understand what's available for your specific landscape. With that, I would just like to finish up with sharing some additional resources, which I think are interesting. On the left side, you see the Sapphire event page, where you can see some recordings of all the sessions. Well, for most of the sessions. In the middle, you see the Upskill for Success. These are the learning paths. SAP has published some learning content, which is aligned to the autonomous enterprise. And on the right, you see the Innovation News Guide, which is basically a summary of all the key product announcements at Sapphire, with some links to deeper technical content. But that brings us to the end of the content portion of today's session. So
Do we have any other additional questions? If so, please mention them in the chat or put on your mic. It's also fine. Or you can always contact Dries. So you will also see his email in the PDF of the presentation that we will send you together with the recording. But if it's about commercial stuff, indeed, better reach out to your SAP account manager. And then maybe we can move on, Dries, with the next slide. So the question and answers, please reach out if you still have any of them. And then I would like to look together with all of you to our next sessions that we still have in June. And we will still have 2 webinars, one about GTS and one about e-invoicing. And then we also have the future of SAP procurement, an on-site event at the SAP offices in Machelen. I would like to pronunciate in name of SAPience that you have a membership for your whole company. Those sessions might not be of interest for you. However, they might be for a colleague. So please make some noise internally. Everyone is welcome. All employees of our members can join the sessions that we bring. So please let them register themselves so we know upfront who will join us. But a warm welcome to all of you. And then I think we can move over to the most important event of the year for SAPience. It will be hosted the 1st of December. It will be again in the Waarboom in Groot Bijgaarde. You can scan the QR code to go to the event page. As you can see, last year we had our keynote Karel Meesters. You can see him at the right bottom picture. And we are hardly working on a new agenda. We hope to reveal it the coming months. But you can already note down the date in your agenda. It will anyhow be a big success. Again, so welcome on our User Day 2026. And then I would like to thank Dries for giving us a highlight on the Sapphire announcements. I can imagine all of you still need to digest maybe both your lunch as well as all the information received, but take your time, scan the QR code, stay tuned, bookmark the Discovery Center, and stay ahead of SAP, because I do think, Dries, it is the beginning of better. So I wish you all a very pleasant day. We still stay here for 5 more minutes. Maybe some people still have questions, and then we will close the session. So thank you all for joining and enjoy your week. Thank you, Dries.
You're welcome.
You get a round of applause, a virtual one.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot.
Niels, I think we can stop the recording and close the session. So thank you, Dries, and catch you next time.
All right. Happy
Thanks
everybody.
a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye.